Hey gang, coming to you today from inside my garage. It's really bad weather outside here in North Carolina right now, so I decided to film this inside. The video that we're doing here today is to talk about an update that Jason Stevenson from Orion Powersports recently put out that is going to be good news for those of you who want to buy an Orion RXB 250 in the future. I already put out a video once saying that about in September of 2020 that Orion had decided to go with a single size engine, which was the 249cc version of a Zongshin motor to be released at the end of 2020. That was the most recent container of bikes that they were able to get. Since that time, behind the scenes, Jason Stevenson of Orion Powersports tried to get the first version of the Orion RXB 250s, which were actually 223 cc's, essentially a Honda CRF 230 clone engine, and he was successful in that. So the newest announcement that I have for you is that Orion Powersports moving forward, at least for the current time that he's able to get these, it may be a limited supply that he is able to get of the 223 cc 230 clone engines, but they're going to start selling both models. As I make this video, it's February 13th, and I believe on Monday the 15th or 16th, Tuesday 16th, he's going to try to put out a pre-sale, and then the bikes will come probably be able to have them by March. End of March, beginning of April. It kind of depends on their ability to get them and get the containers shipped to the United States. But so they're going to reoffer, as I said, the 223cc engine, which is the 230. I'm going to start from this point forward in this video. I'm going to start calling it a 230. So they're going to start releasing those to be able to buy again. They will be the what I call the middle term engine that was produced and offered to you guys. Some of you had them where it has the honeycomb inside the header pipe for EPA purposes, and it had the butterfly valve type carburetor, and it also had an air recirculation pump and some other things so that it could pass the California CARB laws that they have to go through to import these bikes with emission control. So what he decided to do as a company, Orion decided to do as a company to make it a little bit more enticing for those of you who want the 230 engine, is that he's also going to offer the stainless steel header pipe without the honeycomb, without the catalytic. It's basically a catalytic converter. And he's also going to offer 28 millimeter Nibby carbs at a discounted price. So what will happen is the bike will be a little bit less than the 249cc version, and he'll offer you the pipe and the carb to be purchased at the same time. Only if you purchase them all at the same time will you get this discount. And it will essentially put it at the price that they sell the 249 for, maybe a little bit more, but it'll be pretty close to that. Having said that, I'm also going to move forward with what they're going to offer. Should be able to get them in probably in May. They'll start bringing back the 249s, 249cc, the 250L and R models that are currently available the last time they ordered. I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences. So the difference is, part of the reason why they did this is the 230 version is with Joe Hinner modifications, is able to be modded and able to have a lot more outside support. With that engine, you're able to, if you remove all the carb regulation stuff, the EPA stuff, the air recirculation pump, the bad header pipe, and change out your carburetor, you're going to start with about a 18.5 horsepower motor, rear wheel horsepower motor. And what a lot of us, like me, if you want to look in some of my videos, you'll see I've modded my bike from the very beginning. I'm the type of person who likes to tinker and do things and get more out of anything that I would own. So I had an online poll. Joe Hinner asked the question if people were interested in having which version of the motorcycle. And a lot of you guys who haven't purchased bikes, and some who did, answered that they would rather have the 230 motor, the 223 cc's, and be able to hop it up and modify it. So all along, Joe Hinner of Hinner Motorsports Racing and Hinner Motorsports has been doing modifications and making things to make that engine better. There's multiple levels of things that you can do, but these are the things that I'm just going to list off all the modifications. You can decide what level you want. So Wiseco makes a piston for that bike that you don't have to change the bore. It just changes the compression ratio. An 11-to-1, essentially 11-to-1. It doesn't quite get there, but Wiseco makes a bigger compression piston. There is a 4-degree timing advance flywheel key that helps you advance the timing. It moves your piston up at the firing point at top dead center just a little bit, but it's a huge gain in your ability to burn fuel and your ability to get revs and torque out of the engine. The stock engine is detuned. You can get CDIs, electronic control modules, for your bike. Big Gun Racing makes them. Procom makes them. There's an adjustable version that some people are saying is okay. I'm not going to sit here. I have my disagreements with that particular model because I don't think the average person, it's not easy to adjust it, but it is available. Do your due diligence and make sure you understand it before you buy one, because you can burn up a piston. But having said that, it is available and it will give you a lot more rev. It is a good, if you use it correctly, it is a good thing. It's an adjustable CDI box. We're calling it the purple box. Joe sells those too. There is a cam. Joe Hinner has a cam. Very good. I have that in my bike. I love it. More over rev, more torque throughout the range. There's a 13-to-1 piston that can be had with a bigger bore kit that brings your bike from 223 cc's to 233 cc's, essentially calling it a 240 kit. Big bore. You can get with that comes a piston and a cylinder, but Joe also sells a separate piston that even increases the compression more so that you're at 13-to-1. He offers porting, and he also offers what they call rifle boring of the carburetor, which essentially takes a lip off the back side of the bell side, the bigger side of the carburetor, to increase airflow throughout your carburetor. And it's just good. You need all these things. The more flow, the more air and fuel that you get into your engine, the more power you can get out of it, obviously. And when you're talking about big bores and higher compression pistons and thinner head gaskets to get higher compression, all of these things are offered through Hinter Motorsports. And part of the reason why Jason tried so hard to get the 223 back in is because of all the support that you can get and all these things that you can buy directly from like the outside suppliers. It's more prevalent with that 230 engine. It's basically a Honda 230 clone, so therefore a lot of the Honda parts work, and the aftermarket has already been supporting it for years and years. And the parts availability, you know, when you're talking about getting gaskets and seals and just any little part that you might need, the 230 engine is just more prevalent and has availability of the aftermarket to be supported. Also with the 230 engine is the type of engine that it is. Because of the bore and stroke, it's more of a rev engine. It has the ability with modification to go quicker turning. It has a lighter crankshaft and a lighter flywheel. So the type of power that it makes is quicker. It's quicker revving, quicker making the power, especially when it's modified. So that's about all I'm going to say for the 230 version of the engine. You can go through a lot of my prior posts and see what I've done to my engine, what Joe's done to his engine. A lot of people in my Facebook group have also modified their engines, and it's a good thing that they brought it back. I'm very happy that they did. I was kind of told that they weren't going to be able to get these engines anymore. So Jason Stevenson, thank you for sourcing them, trying to get more of them. Orion Powersports, Jason Stevenson, that's the contact there. So moving forward, they're also still selling the 249 engine, which is a full 250cc engine. I want to address something that was brought up to me by a couple of people, and I want to address it here. It was said to me that when I made my other video about the engine changes, that it came across that I didn't like that engine, and I wasn't a big fan. Nothing can be farther from the truth, to be honest with you guys. I'm telling you honestly, the 249, if you do nothing, if you have no mechanical skills other than to just kind of set up the bike, that bike is for you. Because, you know, obviously you don't want to be, if you don't have the ability to remove a cylinder and change a piston and put in a camshaft, this engine from the start has a little bit more horsepower as a start. And there's not a lot of support in the industry or things that can be done with this as of this date in February of 2021. I'm not going to say that someone won't eventually do some things for it, but as it sits right now, as I stated in my other video, that was kind of what I saw as the only negative, really. That and the fact that this new engine is also 7 pounds heavier on an already heavy frame and bike. There's no getting around that. That's fact. I know people say, well, why would I point it out? I'm pointing it out to you because I've always been honest with you. If you look back through all my videos, I'll tell you exactly what I feel and what I believe to be fact. I may be wrong from time to time because a lot of things are in flux. As it turns out, I, in my last video, said that this new engine had a counterbalancer. It does not. I found that out. So it's 7 pounds heavier and it doesn't even have a counterbalancer. But so as a stock engine, why I say if you don't have like a lot of mechanical ability, it's good for you. Here's the reason why. That engine in that frame, in this scenario, is what I call a torque engine. The bore and stroke gives you more of a grunt, torquey type power, and it delivers it lowering the power band. So if you want it for like trails and hill climbing and pulling weight not necessarily at the top end of the scale, but pulling your weight from off throttle to, like, let's say mid. This bike in this configuration is a little bit better without. The other one would have to be modified to have that kind of pull. How you use it matters. How you gear it matters a ton. I know a lot of you guys have been in my Facebook group saying that you're more interested in kind of having a dual sport kind of situation where you can actually get street legal and then ride to the trails. So you're going to have to think about your gearing. You're going to be making compromises, and I'm not going to sit here and suggest gearing to you. Ask people who do it in the group, within the group. They'll be able to tell you. But having what I've done myself and tested on this new engine, I can tell you this, that with a 38 tooth rear sprocket, you can cruise 65, maybe even the low 70s, a 200 pound person like myself, pretty easy. Not so much with the 230. The 230 engine, just a little bit underpowered compared, a little bit less power, different gearing in the way that it makes the power. I'm talking stock to stock here. You know, that one's going to be more of a 55, maybe pushing 60 type cruiser. Maybe a little bit better with a smaller sprocket in the rear. But so anyways, why I'm making the videos, both these bikes now are going to be available to you guys if you haven't already bought a bike. And having the 230 back in the mix also helps with support. Like, having it out in the world also makes it more interesting for outside vendors to do things to help you. The 249 currently doesn't have a cam. It can't be big board because of the studs. It's at its max right now at 72 millimeter piston. They can't go any bigger than that because they'd have to bore out the cases and move the studs, and it's just not really feasible. The cam, I know that some people are talking about there might be a cam coming. It's very expensive to make it because there is a little offset of what a normal cam would have for decompression on that model's cam. So it's a little bit bigger, a little bit different, a little bit more milling would have to be involved to have that ability. But I've heard rumors that someone might make them. So, you know, cross your fingers if you have that model. And you also still always have Joe Henner Racing modifications to go back to. You can fall back on and get yourself like 20% more horsepower just by sending it off to him and having it ported and having your car bored out. And also a thinner head gasket so you can get a little bit more higher compression. I don't know about the piston situation. Maybe Weisco eventually will make a bigger piston. Maybe someone else will make a bigger piston. Higher compression piston. But as of yet, that's really the only things is you can get a time in advance key from Joe still for the 249. He made one special for that. You can still get a rev box, CDI, whatever you want to call them, the adjustable one, if you'd like. Also, you still can get Procom, and you can still get the big gun. All of those will work. Porting, thinner head gasket, having your carburetor rifle board, and having porting rev box, doing your carburetor, etc. The only other things that I've learned over this past year, there are some power robbers with these Orions, and I'll share some of the things that I know that rob power from this bike. The rear tire comes with a 100/110 by 18. The tire itself is heavy, and that is too wide for the power. You have too much of a drain with that tire. I suggest, many others have suggested, a 100 by 100 by 18, and switching to a more name brand tire, it's going to be lighter. Therefore, you get less rotational mass, you get a little bit more of a bump in RPMs and power to the ground. Big improvement. Same with the front tire. Front tire, I would just say, better traction, lighter weight. You can stick with the stock size on that one, but in the rear, change out to 100 by 100 by 18. The exhaust, there is a O-ring gasket that goes in between the end of the header pipe and the beginning of the cylinder. Stock, these things blow out. The very first time you may take it off and see this unwound piece of wire and wonder what the heck it is, that was your original stock gasket. They're so horrible, they just blow apart. So get a copper O-ring gasket. Look in my Facebook group, you'll see a link is available if you do through the search and at the homepage. And you need to get a couple of those because you never know when you're going to change it out. And every time you change it out, you want to change out that O-ring. So there's another power robber that can be had that you can fix. You always want to keep your air filter clean. It's a huge robber of power when it's dirty. When it's clean, no problem. But if you leave it dirty or you leave it wet, you're choking off your engine. So you don't want to do that. You want to always get a fresh, as much as you can, clean and change out and re-oil your air filter. Another big power robber is chains. This bike doesn't need, you can get it, I'm not discouraging you from buying one, but an O-ring chain is just more drag or more weight, however you want to call it. And this bike doesn't necessarily need an O-ring chain. You can get by with a standard chain, and it will save you, believe it or not, you can gain almost 1 horsepower just by running a standard chain. It's a test that has been done by Pro Circuit. You could look it up on Motocross Action many years ago. They did it. They did multiple tests on different type of chains, so there you go. Gearing, of course, matters. You can gain, I won't call it necessarily horsepower, but how it is delivered to you, depending on the type of riding that you do. I do off-road riding. Currently, I'm running a 12 front and a 50 rear. Ask others if you do some other type of riding, get a better suggestion from people that are doing that type of riding for you or around you, see what they're running. But for me, that's what I like for off-road. I use my bike in motocross, so there you go. That tightens up the power band. Let's see. The CDIs that I discussed, they definitely are big power not power robbers, but you want to get rid of the stock one. The stock one is made for just a bevy of bikes. It's a very minimal, it's an underpowered scenario. They're trying to keep the revs down so they get longer lasting engines. So change out your rev box. It in itself is a power robber. Let's see. That's all that's coming to me right now. But you always want to just go through your bike before you ride. Make sure that you've got a nice tight chain. Another power robber. The stock packing in the silencer is horrible. It actually kind of melts. It's not a quality. I've done mine twice, and the first time I took it out, it was kind of like melted, kind of like cotton candy melted together. So change that out. You can gain 1 or 2 horsepower right there. That's another thing. Like always keeping your packing good is good to give you more horsepower. So that's what I'm going to go with, guys. Sorry I haven't been making as many videos as I would like. You know, life gets in the way sometimes, and that's the scenario right now that I'm in, but I'm trying to do better. If I serve you guys well and you like these videos, please, if you would give me a like. If you want to see them all the time, I would love that you would subscribe. The more people I can get and influence, the more I'm motivated to do these videos, and it helps me out in YouTube's algorithm to get out into the world and make more of these. So thank you much, and I'll catch you next time.